I will close with this, thanking you, Brother Rich, for this interview. The questions were good questions, penetrating
Thank you, brother.
questions, questions not born from fear or hesitancy, and which is what I desired, and I appreciate the strength of your questions, and I especially appreciate the manner, the respectful but strong, unapologetic manner in which you asked them. So I pray for the success of your media, and inshallah we can do this again soon.
Indeed. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, fam.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Yeah. King shit. Yeah. Yeah. Look. I'm from the city where the bums rich. Skyscrapers block the rays when the sun hits. One time coming, niggas run quick. By the time a baby walk, he got a gun grip. I was made for this. 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 I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this. I was made for this. I was made for this.
Peace, family. Welcome to another episode of Underground Railroad Productions. This your host, Brother Rich. Got the privilege to be at Mosque number 7 in Brooklyn, New York, with Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Welcome to the program, brother.
Oh, I appreciate it, Brother Rich. I'm honored to be here and have this opportunity to dialogue with you, Black God.
Indeed. So, it's special to me to interview a brother such as yourself. I grew up in a Christian household. My mother was, I believe my mother and my grandmother, I lived with my mother and my grandmother. They were Pentecostal, so they attended church in Harlem. But my mother always listened to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan all the time. And one of the first books she made me read was Message to the Black Man by Elijah Muhammad. So I was always familiar with the Nation of Islam. I like the discipline that you brothers represented. I like the strength. I love to hear Farrakhan talk. And I guess that resonated beyond religion. Although my mother was a Christian, the Muslim teachers resonated with a Christian woman, which got passed down to me. So fast forward, we're here 2016. I'm here at Mosque number 7, so I'm glad to interview. One of the things, I guess I want to start out like this, because one of the things I hear, this is the information age. This is the internet age where you could Google anything. Everything is out there. Information is more available than it ever was in our lives. Before, we would have to go to the library, and it would take us 3 hours just to find 4 pages in one book. And I mean, like, it was time consuming to seek out information. So times has changed. One thing I hear people refer to the Nation of Islam when describing them, I've heard some people use the word a defunct organization, or organization who's outdated, or organization who can't keep up with the changing times, whether it's information dealing with health, whether it's metaphysical information, whether, whatever, conspiracy information, all the stuff that's out there. So to start out with, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, what would you have to say to the people that feel as though all the great things y'all have done in this country, one of the most effective organizations ever in this continent, people now feel as though you are outdated?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Rich. That's a very good question, a very important question. I'll start with, you rightly coupled the right to phenomenon. The phenomenon of the information age as the Google age, distinct from the age where you had to go to libraries to do actual research. You coupled that rightly with the other phenomenon of the seeming defunctness, if you will, of the Nation of Islam in this era of the information age. The Nation of Islam not keeping up with the new information available in the so-called information age. I'm an academic by training. If I were to tell it, the value of scholarship is methodology. And as an academic, I state categorically that this information age is hustling backwards. In terms of knowledge, this is a backwards hustle.
Interesting.
The Google scholarship, Google knowledge, internet knowledge is that lazy knowledge. It's exotic. You can get anything and everything on the internet, and most of it is erroneous. Real knowledge is still buried in libraries, in books, and requires digging. It's the lazy age.
Okay.
Or the lazy researchers who are privileging the internet information age. And it's that same circle who find on the internet these exotic theories that they don't hear from the Nation of Islam, not because the Nation of Islam can't keep up, but because the Nation of Islam is still rooted in actual facts and actual knowledge.
Okay.
And the info, what's popular today from internet scholars, from Google scholars, is the exotic stuff that sounds real good, but it's shabby knowledge. It's based on shabby scholarship and shabby methodology. So no, you won't find too much of that among those of us in the Nation of Islam. You won't find us recycling that exoticism, because if you can fact check it on the internet, then it's branch knowledge. And so I say categorically, you can't fact check Brother Dr. Wesley on the internet. You gotta go to that library to fact check Brother Dr. Wesley and the Nation of Islam. But on the general point of the seeming defunctness of the Nation of Islam, the example of the modern sources of knowledge and methods of deriving knowledge, that's just one example of a real disconnect between the Nation of Islam today and current trends. But it should be that way. The current trends, black culture is morphing in ways that we refuse to be a party to and a participant of. So as black culture, I said morph, implying self-agency, but that's not right. Black culture is being morphed by outside agencies. Black culture is being created scientifically as we speak. Black trends just don't pop up. Black trends are created, and those black trends created from outside forces, they leave us black Muslims behind. We not following behind that drummer. That's a drum beat to hell. So yes, you look at the Nation of Islam from that perspective, and you see us unwilling to follow those trends. And so it may seem like we're defunct by the standards of this nouveau stuff, but we are rooted in that old-time religion. We're rooted in that old-time methodology of deriving knowledge, and that's why all this exotic stuff will come and go. The Nation of Islam been here from close to 90 years, and will be here another 90, 100 years, while these trends morph and morph and morph.
Now, as far as the leaders such as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, people have this concept when they think about powerful black leaders in this country. They have this concept that goes something like, if you's a real leader, you got to be taken out. So the fact that Farrakhan has lived so long and is still living, still teaching, still walking, still talking, he got to be an agent. He got to have been bought and paid for. Don't trust him. How do you feel about that theory? The greats, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Khalid Muhammad, but Farrakhan is still around.
Yeah. That's the theory of those who are convinced that the white man is God.
Okay.
See, those people believe that there is no power higher than the white man. And the greatest thing you can do as a black leader is be killed by a white man. Those people believe that your authenticity of black leadership comes from the bullet of the white man. The white man is God to those people. Now, we in the Nation of Islam, we understand that the white man is a God, but the white man is not the God. And so when God raises up the one he has selected for the people. See, we can select our leaders. And Allah wastes not the work of a worker, the Quran says. All black leaders and black workers, their work is appreciated, their work has advanced the cause of the resurrection of the black nation. But we select our leaders, but then God selects the leader for us. And the ones that God selects, the white man can't touch them.
Okay.
Because the white man is a God, but the white man is not the God. You mentioned Malcolm, Khalid, who were killed. And then the antithesis to that you offer is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the suggestion is that because Malcolm and Khalid were killed, but Khalid wasn't killed by the white man.
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. So you raise them up as having been killed by the white man and therefore legitimate in their leadership, in contrast to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is still here working, and therefore his leadership should be suspect, but he is the heir of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who the devil also didn't kill. And the irony is most of those who advance that theory, they discredit the minister because he wasn't killed, but they love Elijah.
Okay.
Elijah wasn't killed. See, draw the lines correctly. Malcolm and Khalid can be on one side of the line. On the other side of the line is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. God protected the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad from the plot of this government. And Allah protected his successor, his heir, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Satan has tried many a time to kill the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because he failed is not evidence that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is an agent. His failure is evidence that the white man ain't God.
Now, it's going to be a little confusing. Something you just, on several occasions, you just said the white man is a God.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that people, that's in the psyche, subconscious of black people, they remember always hearing the Nation of Islam saying the white man is the devil.
Yes, sir.
So
no contradiction there.
that's going to be, could you clarify that, please?
We'll clear that up.
Yeah.
God, see, we misunderstand what God is. God is a being of power and force. Whether that force is executed in a morally righteous way or whether that force is executed in a morally unrighteous way, still a God. And the white man, the devil is a god. The devil is the god of this world. The devil is, absent the God, in this world, the devil is the great power and force of this world. Therefore, he is a God. He made this world. He is the God of this world. Above him is the God of the universe, the God of creation. So the devil, as the paramount power and force of evil, he is a God. There's no question that the white man, the devil, is a God. He's not the God. The God, Allah, is a righteous God. But the righteous God, Allah, and Satan, they are both gods.
What do you ever look at the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Louis Farrakhan, and say to yourself, you know what, he was dead on point in 1968 or 1972, but times have changed and I have to advance his teaching. So because new information is available, I have access to more than Elijah Muhammad had access to. So in order for my organization not to be stagnant in that teachings, I may have to say something that may seem contradictory to what my teachers have said. Have you ever been faced with that?
I don't know, was that rhetorical? Because you know the answer to that question. Yes, to answer your question. And that demonstrates the rootness of this teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Brother Rich, I don't know the extent to which you may be familiar with my history. I came to Islam, I came to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad from atheism.
I didn't know that, no.
I was a bit atheist. Bitterly anti-religion. When the journey from there to here was a journey in which I determined to study everything, toss out all my beliefs and disbeliefs, study everything, and wherever that study will lead me, that's where I will be. Now, what that did is the teachings of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to me first came to me as a subject of academic study, not as religious doctrine to believe. When it came to me, I didn't believe it. It came to me as one among many objects of critical study. And so I studied this teaching as an academic. I put it under the microscope of critical scrutiny. I subjected it, practically every iota of it, to the fire of critical scrutiny. And that process is a reason I am a member of the Nation of Islam. That process is the reason not only that I stand on the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but by Allah's grace, I'm able to debate people from all over the world, from different intellectual persuasions, and by Allah's grace, I have never been defeated, and we have never been defeated in representing this teaching. I'm not boasting in me, I'm boasting in this teaching. Because this teaching is not a religious doctrine. Critical scrutiny of this teaching has demonstrated that the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad are a verifiable body of knowledge. And so I I study everything as a historian of religion. If you read my books, all of my books are about the teachings, or are anchored in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but you may or may never read the name Elijah Muhammad in the book. And the entire book is about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In the book, you will go all over the world and never leave the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's because this teaching is the science of everything in life. So every single study that you bring to it, you will get a return. Every study, or every angle, every body of knowledge you collate with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad will prove that this teaching is a root knowledge, not religious doctrine. Brother Dr. Wesley is not a purveyor of religious doctrine. I'm a student of this academic teaching, this verifiable body of knowledge called Islam, brought by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
You mentioned the devil made this world. We talked a little bit earlier about information that's out there on the internet. If a new ager was sitting here right now listening to you talk,
what?
A new ager, you know, the new age information,
yes.
metaphysics,
Yes.
things of that nature. You know, and I read a lot of metaphysical teaching, so I'm aware of a lot of things that's out there, a lot of things that's out there. They would say, Dr. Wesley, God, it may go something like this. They would say, Dr. Wesley, God made this world. The devil didn't make this world. God made this world, all that is, the universe, whatever, you know, different terms for the creator, made this world, this plane of existence here, in order for it to experience itself outside of itself, meaning that we live in a world of polarity, where you know you're light skinned when you see a brother that's dark skinned, or you know you're older when you see that I'm younger, or I know that I'm younger when I see, you know, just, or chocolate, vanilla, you know, the opposite. So because God was all that is, you can't experience yourself from a, you know, from a relationship aspect. So this world was made in that, you know, he could experience himself outside of himself. So it has nothing to do with the devil. In fact, you even terming things as the devil is your lack of understanding about God, because even the devil is God with a ski mask on.
Practically everything that you said, we agree with 1,000%. The issue between what I said and what you just said is an issue of terminology, semantics. I will clarify something. We're using world differently. When we say the devil made when I say the devil made the world, and you spoke of God making the universe, very different things we're talking about. But let me say that what you said, I, as a metaphysician as well, absolutely concur. It is in our teaching. There is in the Hadith Qudsi of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, of how Allah experienced his self-revelation by creating the world. It is, in fact, the polarity of which you speak, that God realizing himself by othering himself. The God as spirit had to make himself man to fully know himself. We bear witness to your premise. But I try, as an academic, I try to use my words deliberately, and that's why I pause a lot, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to think 5 times before we speak. I can't say I succeed in getting 5 thoughts completed before I let something fly, but I try. So I pause, but I say that I try to use my words deliberately. When I said the devil made this world, I didn't say the devil made the world, and I certainly did not say or mean to imply that the devil made the cosmos. He did not. The world that the devil made is this Western world that we lived in. The world as a political, cultural, intellectual, scientific paradigm. Global paradigm. That's the world that the devil made, the white man made. The world that he rules is the world that he made. The world that he supplanted. The black world, the ancient black empire, if you will. It was theologically, culturally, morally opposite of what this world is. And that's because the devil in establishing this world consciously established it as the antithesis of the world that he replaced.
Okay.
So we agree with you. The devil did not make the universe. We also agree with you that the devil, you say the devil is God with a ski mask on. We say the devil is God's lower self.
Okay.
The devil is, always say the devil is God's left hand. The devil absolutely is a biological manifestation or an external manifestation of part of God's own biology. No question. The devil does derive from God, and there's a sense in which the devil is an agent of God's own being. We bear witness to that.
You mentioned politics. Let me ask you this. During the course of the last 2 years, we've seen countless police killings on the television. It's almost as if that's a new genre on TV, police killing black men. One of the things the media keep putting out there to justify it is black on black violence. So they pretty much could get away with anything they want. They could come in and lynch a brother, shoot him, stab him, whatever. As soon as we say something, the first thing they'll say is, what about the black on black violence is 92%. And a lot of people feel as though violence is a proximity thing, so that's one of the most ridiculous statements that they can make. When people think of Chicago, they think of the Nation of Islam. How do you feel about the media always running to black on black violence? And how do you feel about what's going on in Chicago, since they always use Chicago as the example of black on black violence?
What's going on in Chicago deeply hurts, because what you hear, unfortunately, is not an exaggeration. I came to Chicago from the outside, and more often than not, when something or somebody has a big bad reputation, once you meet them, you discover it ain't all that. There's a sense in which Chicago's reality is worse than its rep.
Wow.
What's going on in Chicago deeply hurts. But what hurts more is that while I agree there is a lot of national focus on Chicago, but what's going on in Detroit deeply hurts. What's going on in Baltimore deeply hurts. What's going on in D.C. deeply hurts. Because the carnage of Chicago, the carnage that Chicago is a poster child for, the carnage exists in every single black neighborhood, and the carnage was artificially manufactured.
Okay.
Scientifically manufactured. We'll be talking about that tonight and tomorrow in Jersey throughout the weekend. How the U.S. government, through university laboratories, scientifically produced the black on black violence, the black carnage that is suffocating life in every urban city or urban area in America. So it deeply hurts. Now, what do I feel about the media running to black on black violence as a justification for white on black violence, for police murder? Well, it's called justifiable homicide for a reason. Justifiable homicide means that they will always justify their homicide of black men. They will always, and so one of the most egregious cases is Charlotte. Our brother Keith Scott, there seems to be two black victims here. Keith Scott, the one who was murdered, and the black officer they're using as a patsy. Because the witnesses said clearly she saw who shot Brother Keith Scott, and it was the white officer with the bald head. But they had, just like in New Orleans, when they alleged the brother shot the cops. But the early eyewitnesses completely contradicted the later police narrative. So in New Orleans, we saw before our eyes the fabricated narrative unfold before us to justify something. And so in Charlotte, we're witnessing the fabricated justification of the killing of our brother by a white cop, and they are hanging a brother, they are pinning it on a brother for obvious reasons. So what is that? It's justifiable homicide. They will always justify their murder of us. So we run into black on black violence as a justification for white on black violence is their way. But with that being said, I have to say this. We don't care what the media says. We care about black life. And all black life matters to the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan and those of us with him. All black life matters. So we are as aggrieved by the loss resulting from black on black violence as we are aggrieved of the loss resulting from white on black violence. We in the Nation of Islam, under the leadership, the generalship of the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, we are engaged in fighting a two-front war. We are fighting the war against black self-hatred, which is the root of black on black violence. And we are fighting the war on the front of white racism, that is the root, or not the root of white on black violence is the truth of the black God. Let me be real clear. The root of white on black violence is not racism as we understand it. It's the war of the gods. That's the root of white on black violence. We're going to be talking about that Sunday in detail in Plainfield, New Jersey, come out. But we have, if all black lives matter to you, as it does to us, then you have to be incensed when standing on both sides, both fronts of this war. And all black lives matter to us. So the children who lose a father to black on black violence pains us as much as the children who lose a father to police murder.
How do you feel about the upcoming elections? You got Donald Trump on one side. He recently just said the answer to black on black violence is more increased stop and frisk. And we all know how that works out in our communities. Then you have Hillary Clinton that's going around pandering to black people, dancing, doing whatever she can to convince black people and black women especially that she's on their sides. What's the Nation of Islam take on the upcoming elections?
Okay. Well, you asked two questions. Your first question was how do I feel about there's no elections. Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving this show. This is wonderful entertainment. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It gets no better than that. So I'm loving it. It's good television. It's bad politics. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan has said that if Donald Trump is elected, he will ride this country to hell. You have the difference between, from my perspective, Brother Wesley, the difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton is one desires the position of super predator. The other is a veteran in a position of super predator. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump has bad ideas. Hillary Clinton and the Clintons have a bad history of evil against black people. If Donald Trump is elected, he will do all he can and probably will be quite successful in implementing his bad ideas for black people. He has good ideas for white people because he wants to make America great again for white people.
Yeah.
So if he gets in office, he will implement his ideas. If Hillary gets in office, she will continue the Clinton practice of evil.
Right, right.
So it is absolutely a lose-lose for the black man and woman in America. It is absolutely a lose-lose. Trump or Clintons, because you're getting them both, is a lose-lose for the black man and woman in America. So I, as a conscientious voter, I have the right to vote, as you do. We in the Nation of Islam, we have the right to vote, as you do. I choose to exercise my right to vote by withholding my vote this year, and that's important. The pundits got Negroes in particular, because white folks know better, but the pundits got Negroes in particular thinking the right to vote comes with only two options: voting for one or the other. No. The right to vote also comes with the right to judiciously withhold your vote when it's in your interest to withhold. And this year it is in my interest, it is in our interest to withhold our vote. You can't justify, in my opinion, intelligently justify casting a vote for Donald Trump, nor can you justify casting a vote for Hillary Clinton, who is a super predator, and their chief prey was young black babies. The Clintons are the eaters of black babies.
Okay. It seems as though, since President Obama was elected, one of the first things that happened was the sales of guns went up. Are you disappointed in President Obama because racism seemed to resurge on the national media? I mean, we got a black president, and then all hell broke loose after that. Are you disappointed in his response to everything that's going on?
Profoundly disappointed. And I had the pleasure recently to sit with the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan. And he shared these thoughts, and I would like to share them in response to
Indeed.
your question.
Indeed, thank you.
The audacity of President Obama, our brother whom we love, but the audacity of him to say that, not just say that we insult his personal legacy by not supporting the super predator black baby eaters, Clintons.
Yes.
But he had the audacity to speak to us in a way. He never speaks to the LGBT community. He never speaks to Jews. He doesn't speak to anybody the way he had the gall to speak down to us while he said, what we owe him, we are being shot down in the streets to one degree because of him. What do I mean? The white rage that is fueling all of this police murder and vigilante murder of black men is white rage born from his presidency.
Okay.
Whites are enraged at Obama, but they can't touch him.
Right.
The most they can do to him is cuss at him during a congressional speech. But they can touch us, and they unleash their rage on us now. Okay, Brother President, we put you there. We are being murdered because of their hatred of you being there. And the most you can do for us is to talk trash to us before the world? How dare you? It can be said, but let me be real clear. I am not the one to say how dare to the president. That's above my pay grade. I will wait for my teacher, the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, to address our president in those issues on October 16, 2016 in Atlanta at the Holy Day of Atonement. But yes, we are not just profoundly disappointed, we're pissed. We're pissed at how he is handling us while we are being consumed by those who really want him but don't have access to him, but they got access to us. Yeah, we're disappointed.
You just mentioned the LGBT community. One of the organizations that popped up on the scene in the last 2 years that get media coverage, I mean, everywhere, is Black Lives Matter. If you go to their website, you see things they talk about, you know, they promote transgenderism, you know, the whole gay lifestyle, homosexual lifestyle. And a lot of people feel as though when it comes to black liberation, when it comes to the man, woman, and child, homosexuality has no place in that. Homosexuality cannot help us as a nation grow and rise. In the website, they talk.
We agree.
In the website, they have a little section entitled Villages, and they talk about restructuring the family structure, in which they don't even mention the fathers. They say mothers, parents, and children. So Darren Seals, the brother that just he was killed, burned, and shot in the car. I mean, he used to go at him, and he brought that up in one of his tweets.
He was assassinated.
Yeah, he brought that up in one of his tweets. Like, yo, they don't even have enough respect to mention fathers. How do you feel about Black Lives Matter and the fact that a lot of people look at them as a homosexual organization that is took all the credit for what Darren Seals and other organizations are doing?
First, on our brother Darren Seals, who the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, when I was in his presence, discussed Brother Darren. and the minister's deeply hurt by his assassination. He said that he was one of our soldiers. He's been martyred. Brother Darren was assassinated. Not just killed, he was assassinated. Regarding Black Lives Matter, it was a year ago. Black Lives Matter in the homosexual agenda. Black Lives Matter and the agenda or the assault on the black family. Over a year ago, I was in Delaware and I spoke. And I put before the public the homosexual agenda of Black Lives Matter. Not only that the founders are self-proclaimed queers, but they held a rally claiming that since they started Black Lives Matter on behalf of black men now have a obligation to stand up for transgender men and women. And I pointed out then how the agendas of saving black life and promoting the homosexual agenda was merging with Black Lives Matter. It is no question that George Soros and other satanic billionaires have use of and have used Black Lives Matter for their purpose. And I have no doubt that a casualty there is Brother Darren Seals. So we agree with you, we, the Nation of Islam, under the leadership, under the guidance of the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, we agree that the agenda to erase the father out of the home, we agree that homosexuality is against the well-being of the black nation. Let me say that clear. My repeating is not stuttering, because there is no stutter. We in the Nation of Islam have affirmed for 90 years, have fought for 90 years. We have affirmed the value of the black man as a man and the black woman as a woman. We train black men to be men in a way that nobody on the planet has done or does.
That's facts.
Nobody.
That's facts.
We make men men. We make women women. So you Johnny come latelys, you pop up with a good idea, you got a good movement, a moment, we salute it, but don't get it twisted. We've been doing what you talk about for nearly a century. Our proof is in our work. Our work against the homosexual agenda is public record. Our work is making men men and making women women. We take homosexuals and make them men. We take lesbians and make them women. That's a matter of public record. This is the caveat that we don't apologize for, even though it gets some of you new jacks all, get your panties all up in a bunch. Y'all say Black Lives Matter to you. Y'all might even say Probably because you heard it from us. You might even say all black lives matter. But a lot of you demonstrate that you don't mean that. You really don't mean all black life really doesn't matter to a lot of them doing a lot of talking. For us in the Nation of Islam, but specifically for the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, all black life literally matters to him. Why? Because he was given a very specific instruction by his teacher. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him, said to all of us that Farrakhan, that through Farrakhan, he, Elijah, was going to get all of his people. Now, to us, that was a statement of fact. But to Farrakhan, that was an instruction. He's instructed by his father to get all black people. You know what all means? All means the life of the prostitute has to matter to him. Matter enough that he has to go get her. That means the life of the crack dealer peddling death in our community. It has to matter to him. And he has to go get that black life. It also means the life of that black homosexual has to matter to him. And he has to go get that black life, especially when we know. And I'll be speaking on that tonight here at the mosque. That the black homosexual epidemic was scientifically created. It came out of the sociopharmacology research paradigm of UCLA. Black homosexuality is a scientific experiment of the devil. So our family is a victim. And you mad at Farrakhan because he has compassion for them? Their life matters to him? Their life don't matter to you, but their life matters to us. That doesn't mean that we promote homosexuality. We condemn homosexuality. But before we condemn the homosexual, we're going to try to redeem the homosexual. If we try and we fail, if they are intransigent, if they are recalcitrant in their homosexuality, if they are recalcitrant in their drug abuse, if they are recalcitrant in their drug dealing, if they are recalcitrant in their abuse of black women, then the hammer drops on them one way or the other. But we don't turn our back on them. Farrakhan don't throw none of us away before he tries to redeem us. That's all Black Lives Matter. That's what we about. I don't know what y'all niggas talking about.
Okay. Definitely appreciate this interview, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. I got one last question for you, brother. A lot of sisters watch this program. One of the things that I'm noticing from a lot of the sisters is that they want to express themselves more sexually. They want to wear tighter clothing. They feel as though the Nation of Islam era, the past 100 years, they've been suppressed. Their femininity has been suppressed. They don't want to wear 3/4 no more. They feel as though they could be intellectual, they could be spiritual, but there's nothing wrong with showing some cleavage. In Africa, we was butt ass naked. But it's the mindset in America that tells you have to cover your whole body to be a woman or to be presentable. So we have a lot of females, and they're influenced by what they see on TV as well. But a lot of sisters beautiful, intelligent sisters, they just can't get down with this whole, I gotta cover everything up all the time. So they don't resonate when a brother like you may talk about woman, because they feel as though, that's that old school ish right there. I'm smart, I'm spiritual, but I want to show, I want to show this, I want to show that, whatever. What would you say to close out? Talk to the sisters about, this resurrection, or they want to be liberated in whatever sense that they're talking about.
Yeah, well, we, the Nation of Islam, we absolutely are that old time. That old time when women had self-respect and virtue. There's little of that in this new time. Look.
Real quick, I don't mean to cut you off. What they will say is that your dress code has nothing to do with your virtue or your self-respect as a woman, because some of the most treacherous women out there go to church, are dressed like ladies, and they will stab you in the back in an instant. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. First, let me address this. In Africa, they ran around butt-ass naked. They get that from the white man. The Zulu nation of South Africa, everybody should study in great detail. And I must say that the more you study pre-colonial Zulu nation, the more you understand and appreciate the Nation of Islam. The Amazulu, or the Zulu people of pre-colonial South Africa, were the greatest obstacle to white dominance in Africa. And Britain declared that after they got whooped by the Zulu army, they declared that removing the Zulus was prerequisite to the establishment of white dominance in all of Africa. The Zulus, pre-colonial Zulu, old-time Zulu, were not just a great, but a mighty people. Why do I make that point? Their greatness was anchored in two peculiar phenomena. Their peculiar masculinity that was indigenous to pre-colonial Zulu culture, and the femininity. The Zulu women wore 3/4. The pre-colonial Zulu women, the most powerful nation of Africans at the time Africa met Europe. The Zulu nation, the singular threat to white dominance in all of Africa. That greatness was anchored in the acknowledgement of the black God, the black man God, Nkulunkulu, a masculinity that is a spitting precursor of the masculinity of the FOI, and a femininity that is a spitting precursor of the femininity of the MGT. That signature African nation didn't run around butt-ass naked. That's what you want to do. They ran around, they didn't run around nowhere. They built greatness wearing 3/4. Fact check. Look, we understand, sister. You enjoy the liberation of the Western world. The liberation you seek is the liberation that's defined by the white man. Now, these conscious sisters who make that charge are well aware of the white, or should be well aware of, the white man's hatred for his woman. The white man's hatred for womanhood.
Okay.
But understand this. The liberation, the freedom to go butt-ass naked, because that ain't Africa. You want to go butt-ass naked. That's not Africa. That's Western man. That's their culture. He allows his woman. He undresses his woman. That's a freedom he gives them, but he hates them. So you want a freedom given to a woman from a man who hates her? How is that liberation? Why would you seek that liberation? Why won't you see that if the ability to go out in the public naked is a freedom that the white man gives his woman, and the white man hates his woman, that's why y'all are feminists. Feminism is a response to the white man's hate of the white woman. So why exalt a freedom that white male misogyny is the author of? How is that liberating? I don't get it. We in the Nation of Islam are saying cover up. One, because this is a savage world. We are saying cover up because this is the era of the fulfillment, the full fulfillment of the biblical prophecy. Kill the male, spare the female. Well, we know what kill the male looks like. Kill the male looks like Darren Wilson shooting down Michael Brown. Kill the male looks like police murder of black men to the point with the numbers tantamount to genocide. Well, what does spare the female look like? Spare the female looks like the nearly 4,000 cops fired as officers or otherwise disciplined because of rape or sexual molestation. Most of their victims, black and children. This is a world where the white man has a fetish for black male blood. That white man has a fetish for the black female body. Why parade yourself to your enemy? Why taunt your enemy like that? Do you not know the day in which you live? Do you not know you are dangling yourself as a piece of meat before ravenous tigers? And while it does not justify, what you wear doesn't justify being raped, but have some sense. If I dangle meat before a starved lion, the lion will eat the meat. It's natural, it's instinct, it's gonna happen. No, we can't say, meat is your fault for being so tasty. But A implies B. A initiates B. And if you come before the world, you come before this ravaging white man, taunting him with your sexuality, it is not a mystery that the greatest rape victim in America is the black female. And for the record, her rapists are white men, but largely black men. By 18, 70% of our girls have been touched. By 18, 70% of our girls have been touched. And most of them have been touched by a black father, black uncle, black brother, a black friend of family. So not only do you need to cover your own wares, But stop putting your little girls in jogging pants with words on her butt. Why draw this world's attention to your daughter's backside like that? You don't want any focus on your daughter's backside. But the same whites who are advocating liberation by showing your wares are the ones producing child wear for you and my babies to draw attention to my 4, 5, 6-year-old daughter's butt in a world that damn near legalizes pedophilia. Congress passed a law that while pedophilia is still illegal, but that may change, that law said that you can produce a porno scene in which the woman is made up as a child. As long as she is actually of legal age, she can be made to look like a child in the video. So simulated pedophilia is legal. So they made it legal to feed the pedophilia of this culture. And then they sell us clothes that we put our baby girls in, to say to the world, look at my little girl's butt. What we wear, how we dress, not only touches on the issue of self-respect and virtue, but at the end of the day, it's a matter of life, death, health, and safety.
On that note, brother, I want to thank you once again. Tell the people what you got coming up so that they could tune in, or any contact information you want to give them.
Yeah, well, we will be here at Muhammad Mosque number 7C tonight, speaking on the feminization of the black man, speaking on understanding the assault against the black man, black manhood, and black masculinity. We will be in Plainfield tomorrow and Sunday as well. I will close with this, thanking you, Brother Rich, for this interview. The questions were good questions, penetrating.
Thank you, brother.
Questions not born from fear or hesitancy, and which is what I desired, and I appreciate the strength of your questions, and I especially appreciate the manner, the respectful but strong, unapologetic manner in which you asked them. So I pray for the success of your media, and inshallah we can do this again soon.
Indeed. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, family.
Peace.
Peace, family. This is Brother Rich from UGR, urging all my viewers and subscribers to help support the channel by donating just $1 to the UGR PayPal account. We appreciate the viewership and support, and we understand the power of $1. If you benefit in any way, shape, or form, we ask that you donate $1, whether it be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or yearly, so that we can build our brand to compete with the NBCs, the MTVs, and the Foxes of the world. I figure since Kanye could ask Mark Zuckerberg for $1 billion, I can ask my subscribers to donate $1 so I could make the best possible content possible. The main objective of this channel is to inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. So hopefully throughout the years of you watching this program, you have been inspired to become the greatest version of yourself. If you would like to donate, you could go to www.paypal.com and send a donation to richandmerit7@yahoo.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your program.
Anthem on the track.
Yeah. King shit. Yeah. Look. I'm from the city where the bums rich. Skyscrapers block the rays when the sun hits. One time coming, niggas run quick. By the time a baby walk, he got a gun grip. I was made for this. 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 I'm not a product of the cages that they raised us in. Bred to be a king, I'm not a slave to this. I was made for this.